It's so funny to me, Microsoft has so much good stuff going on for itself that, obviously there's always going to be someone somewhere that's trying to, take them down a peg or trying to make them seem worse than they actually are. It's always been kind of ridiculous to me the way that some people do. The same people that go, oh, well, let's not talk console wars or let's not get into that when, Microsoft is moving up the chain in revenue and profits. But, you see that people are actually kind of talking about this kind of stuff in the long term, where gamers are extremely happy with all the stuff that they're getting, and again, Microsoft still has a long way to go. I'm the first one to admit that, but it is nice to see that they have a steady flow of everything, and they've really kind of revolutionized gaming and taken it to a place where I think more people can enjoy it, and I think also a place where people in general can kind of just be able to go out there and enjoy gaming as a whole, and Microsoft has done a fantastic job with that. Now, Microsoft, obviously, they kind of reinvented themselves a bit. I can remember with the Xbox 360, it was such a great thing. And then we had a situation where, obviously, the 360 was introducing things like indies and an arcade. I know, believe it or not, like Microsoft never gets the credit they deserve. You can chalk that up somewhat to the Xbox tax, but even going back to the original Xbox, they had a hard drive right in the box, first one to do that, Ethernet right up to the thing. They reinvented like online gaming for video games. They kind of made it possible to do sandbox shooters on a console. Xbox 360 introduced achievements, introduced so many different things. The ability, believe it or not, like we all know Netflix is this huge thing right now. Netflix at the time, and we saw this from the Xbox On documentary. It's funny because Netflix itself, who knows if they were going to be streaming the way that they were. Microsoft approached them about it, and that's how that whole thing started, which was Microsoft went to them and said, hey, can we get Netflix on Xbox? And so they started that whole thing where our consoles are more than that, and people might go, well, that's a bad thing. Nobody says that that's a bad thing. Are you kidding me? To be able to have entertainment and we get more use out of these consoles is a good thing. Let's just be honest, nobody's gaming 24/7. You know what I'm saying? So we get more value for the buck, and there used to be things like a parody thing where games had to launch before or at the same time on Xbox, or we didn't get it. And right now it's like I think Microsoft owns the indie market. Independent creators are hugely important to Xbox, and I think that's huge. So this announcement is pretty huge. We all know how important indie games have become to Xbox over the past decade, particularly following the formation of the ID at Xbox program in 2013. And even though Microsoft will now be focusing a lot of attention on Activision Blizzard, it sounds like there's no plans to slow down on the indie front whatsoever. ID at Xbox director Guy Richards recently spoke to Game Industry Biz, where he was adamant that indie devs have never been more important to Xbox, and the team is investing more than ever in their games. And I quote, "The team working with indie creators has never been bigger, and we have never been investing in more indie games, whether it's through ID at Xbox or the Developer Acceleration Program designed to support creators from underrepresented groups. I think with the Activision Blizzard King acquisition and everything Microsoft has got lined up in the future, we will grow as well, and we'll get to create more opportunities for players and developers." Now, in terms of Xbox Game Pass, Richards mentioned that Microsoft has paid over $4 billion in royalties to developers so far, highlighting that Xbox adopts a customized approach and is very transparent with devs about what they're getting. As recently as this afternoon, the publisher behind last week's Game Pass release, Spirit Tea, enthused how its Game Pass launch had been a ridiculously good experience for them. So the clear takeaway here is that Xbox won't be reducing its focus on indie games despite the massive Activision Blizzard acquisition, and it doesn't come as any big surprise, as you could argue that Game Pass thrives because of its fantastic indie selection, and a lot of people are looking forward to seeing exactly what that has to offer in the future. Now, the very interesting thing is here, talking about that good experience with Game Pass and things like that, I find this to be very cool because you get so much hate for Game Pass from people. Oh, it sucks. It's bad for developers. Bad for developers. they get screwed, like they get a gun to their head or something, right? It's so ridiculous. But Spirit T's Xbox Game Pass launch was a ridiculously good experience for the team. Over 100,000 people played the game on Game Pass. Now, this is just an indie game, right? So their launch earlier in the month was another day one Game Pass arrival, and his publisher is again singing the praises of Microsoft's subscription service. Frequently a fan of the model, No More Robots founder Mike Rose has taken to Twitter to say that its latest Game Pass deal was a ridiculously good experience for the team. He says more than 100,000 people tried it out on Game Pass already, and that Spirit T has been one of the indie publisher's biggest launches to date. He said, on Xbox Game Pass, as usual, been huge for us. Spirit T was actually meant to launch in 2022, but after we got a Game Pass deal, we decided, hey, let's make this thing even bigger and better. Hence the delay into 23 and 100 plus hours of content. Over 100,000 people have played the game on Game Pass last week, and we've heard plenty of people say they bought the game on Steam or Switch after playing the Game Pass version. So once again, a ridiculously good experience for us. In fact, you can see that they really think that Game Pass was great, how it affected the development timeline. Due to working with Xbox, they were actually able to make the game even better, and putting it in the subscription service, the team was afforded more time to make the game bigger and better ahead of a 2023 launch. I think this is awesome. Right, like these are the types of announcements that people need to see when it comes to Xbox and when it comes to Xbox Game Pass. Obviously Microsoft has a long way to go. They're not going to ever win everybody over, but I think the fact of the matter is, at some point, people have to let go of a lot of the hate and stuff and just realize that Microsoft is in this to make sure that everybody is kind of getting the stuff that they earned, right? So like an indie developer that's getting you have 100,000 people able to try your game, and people might go, oh well, isn't there 30 million Game Pass subscribers or whatever? That could be true, but it doesn't mean that every game is for everybody, right? Like this is something that I think people need to understand is gaming is something that is realistically very niche in general as a whole. And then there's obviously people like me who really like the huge AAA blockbusters. That's more my kind of style, but I'll still play indies here and there. In fact, one of the games that I liked most this year was the RoboCop game, and that's not like a true AAA. I think that's more of a or might be borderline AAA, but it's a game that they obviously didn't have the budget that say a Starfield had or whatever, and I think that is sort of the main differences that we're kind of seeing for Xbox right now, and just like it's that, I guess, AA market, like we haven't seen that in a long time. Like the 360 was really big on the AA market and things, and unfortunately I think that market kind of died out a little bit, but the interesting thing is now we're seeing, thanks to like ID at Xbox, we're starting to see more of these types of games, and I think it's definitely needed. Even if it's not my thing or your thing specifically, it's somebody's thing. And I think everybody should be able to have games that they enjoy. But let me know what you guys think. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.